Honorable Ahmed Hussen ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਆ ਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਣ ਕਿ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਰੀਯੂਨੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਤਬਦੀਲੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ, ਅਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰੀ ਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਉਠਾਇਆ ਜਾਏ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਸੁਣਨ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਸਕੇ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਤਬਦੀਲੀਆਂ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਰੀਯੂਨੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਤਬਦੀਲੀਆਂ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦੀ ਸਖਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਆਪ ਇੱਕ ਵਕੀਲ ਨੇ, ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਸਟ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੀ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਯਾਰਕ ਸਾਊਥ ਵੈਸਟਰਨ ਰਾਈਡਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਜਿੱਤੇ ਸਨ। ਔਰ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਖੁਦ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਸੋਮਾਲੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਟ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ 1993 'ਚ ਆਏ ਸਨ, ਅਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਥਾਪਿਤ ਹੋਏ ਹਨ। ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ। Minister, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's always great to come on your show and to come and visit Red FM every time I'm in Vancouver or Calgary or Toronto.
No, thank you very much, and we really appreciate that. The reason that we requested for you to come in and give us some details is that since time your government has come in power, there have been many changes in family reunification system.
Yes.
There was a quota system, first come, first server, then changed to lottery system. And last time you were here, we talked about the lottery system. You said it's a good system. Now you're scrapping that. People are confused. What is the new system is going to look like and how it's going to work?
It's an improvement. So before the lottery system, it was first come, first served. But the problem with it was that people were lining up at immigration offices. And so some people who were willing to spend thousands and thousands of dollars could hire agents to get in line ahead of everyone else. That wasn't fair. Also, if there was a problem with that system, if you lived closer to the processing center, if your postal code was closer to Mississauga than someone else, then you would be ahead in line. And we thought that was unfair, so we changed it to the lottery system. But then, this is why it's important to talk to Canadians and permanent residents about the immigration system and get their feedback. So over the last year and more, we've been talking to Canadians. I've been going everywhere, and members of parliament as well as myself. We've been talking to Canadians about various aspects of our immigration system. Most of the time, people like the changes we've made, but they did express a desire to change the lottery system. They said, let's go back to the first come, first served system, but let's get rid of the agents and the lining up, and let's just open it up to first come, first served online. So we listened. Part of being in government is to listen to the people.
So
we listened, and now we will have the new system will be first come, first served online. We just take the first 20,000 applications that qualify, and we move ahead. If we don't reach 20,000 in the first cut, we will run other rounds. By the way, it's also important to note the success. This program, which is very important to many, many communities in Canada, only had 5,000 spaces when we took office. We promised in our campaign to double it to 10,000. We delivered on that promise, and now we're increasing it to 20,000. So I think that's the good news. Because that means, more people will have an opportunity to sponsor their loved ones, their parents and grandparents, to Canada.
Minister, last time you were here, I brought it to your attention that people are very frustrated with this lottery system. At that time, you were listening, but your opinion was that's a good system.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. Now, 20,000...
Well, it was an improvement over the previous system. That's what I said. But I'm always open to listening to people and to Canadians, and they felt that we should change it, and we have. We listened, basically. That's the issue.
Okay, now the new system that you're starting, when it'll be effective, why 20,000? Why not 30,000?
We have to always make sure that, first of all, to go from 5,000 to 20,000, I think is an improvement. Wouldn't you agree? And remember, our promise was to double it to 10,000. So to go from 5 to 10 and then 10 to 20, I think we've listened. And nothing stops us from increasing the future. But I think, you have to increase responsibly. Also, you have to remember each increase means more pressure and more expectations from the immigration department. These are applications that have to be processed. So we cannot go from 5,000 to 50,000. You have to build these increases, and you have to make sure that the system can process the application.
Okay,
right?
tell us, how is the backlog?
The backlog, that's another good news that I should tell you. In 2014, under the Conservatives, there were 167,000 people in the backlog of the parent and grandparent program. I'm pleased to tell all your listeners and to you that we've reduced that backlog by 84%. So it's down to about 20,000 people. And because we have bigger space, we will be able to eliminate that backlog very soon. And the wait times have also dropped. Under the Harper Conservatives, if you wanted to sponsor your parent or grandparent, you would have to wait 5 years or longer. It's now down to actually between 5 to 7 years under the Conservatives. Now the average time is 2 years, but we want to bring it down to 12 months. So overall, I think it's very good news. More people will be very happy to get this opportunity, and the system is geared to make sure that there's no issues, that all the applications will be processed very quickly.
What will happen to those applications that were taken under the old system, under the lottery system?
Oh, we will complete those applications. No one will be left behind. So the small backlog that's left from the massive backlog that we inherited from the Conservatives, that's going to be completed. So those families will land in Canada. Yeah.
So this new system, you call it first come, first serve?
First come, first serve, 20,000 spaces. I think people will be very happy.
And the processing will start in April?
Well, we have to receive the application. So we'll open the first come, first serve process this month. We're getting ready with our infrastructure. And we're also testing to make sure that everything is smooth. We don't want any hiccups. As you know, for a system to go from 5 to 10 to 20,000, you have to adapt, right? So we have to do that. And once we get all the applications, we will, of course, eliminate any duplications or anything like that. And then we just move ahead and process them.
Are you in a position to give us a date so people who are listening, they can probably make
It will be this month.
ready?
I don't have the specific date because that's still being worked on. But I promise Canadians that we will be providing the date well in advance so that people can prepare. Yeah.
Okay, on the other hand, I want to ask you about the student situation and refugee situation.
Yes.
Lots of Canadians, even new immigrants, are upset with your open door policy for refugees and international students. Are you planning to reduce or control these numbers?
I will start with the first one. On international students, as you know, just like visitors and others, there is no cap because these are not permanent residents. They come, they study, and many of them go back. Of course, there is room for them to apply for permanent residency, but the majority of international students go back to their country.
How many students we have right now?
We always count based on the last year. So in 2017, the number crept up to over 300,000. But let me be clear. International students are a great resource for Canada. They contribute $15 billion to our economy. They enrich our classrooms, and some of them join our labor market and they help fill unfilled jobs. Some of the same individuals who are complaining about international students 2 years ago, they were the same people who were calling for us to increase the number of international students. So I think I don't understand what some of those concerns are. I have heard that they're related to community safety and things like that, but I have yet to see conclusive evidence that international students are responsible. International students are just like any other group of people. Those who violate our laws and expectations of visitors will be dealt with by the law. But the vast majority of international students go to school. They pay for the privilege of being here, and they contribute so much to our economy and to our country. So we have to be very careful, I think, to make sure we don't marginalize these individuals who add so much to Canada. On refugees, I really want to oppose something you said, that we have an open door policy for refugees. We don't. We
Because
have
the
laws.
opposition party, conservatives, are saying that they're blasting it as a continuous pouring of irregular immigrants through Quebec border. I mean,
They're lying. Okay, so it's very clear. They're lying because Canada, the issue of asylum seekers is not new. Under Prime Minister Harper, there were asylum seekers who came to Canada. Under Prime Minister Martin, there were asylum seekers who came to Canada, and so on and so on. So the idea that the Conservatives are making it out to be something that asylum seekers only started coming to Canada under our government is false, number one. Number two, we don't have an open border policy. We have laws in place. Everyone goes through rigorous security screening. We cannot send people who claim asylum, who request asylum. We cannot send them to possible torture or persecution or death. What we can do, which is what we expect and Canadians expect us to do, is to give these people a fair hearing. And if they're determined to be a refugee by an independent immigration refugee board, then they get to stay. If they're not, they get to leave. That's the system that we have. I'm proud of that system. And it's a system, by the way, that has worked and protected people in previous waves of refugees. I don't think we want to get rid of that humanitarian aspect of our immigration system. We don't want to send people back to torture and death and then a few decades from now apologize for that. We just, our Prime Minister, in a few years ago apologized to Canadians and to Sikh Canadians in particular for the Komagatu Maru incident, where people who were seeking protection were sent back and some of them were killed. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau recently apologized on behalf of the government of Canada for sending back Jewish refugees during the Second World War. Do we want to keep making the same mistakes, or do we hold on to our humanitarian traditions of providing protection to those who seek protection, but also making sure that our system is capable enough to send back those who do not have refugees protection needs? And by the way, speaking about the Conservatives, this is the final point I'll make. They talk about the border, the border, the border. Conservatives cut $390 million from the border security operations. So they're talking about border. We are the ones who are investing in border protection. We are the ones who are investing in immigration. They talk about asylum seekers are taking the cue from immigrants. It's two separate systems. And look at their record. Parents and grandparents had to wait years. Spouses had to wait years. They had so many backlogs. So they shouldn't talk about backlogs because they are the ones who generated those backlogs. We cleared those backlogs. We've reduced wait times. And on the issue of asylum seekers, irregular asylum seekers, they've dropped. Their number has dropped 75% in 2018 compared to 2017. Why? Because we have an outreach program. We work closely with the U.S. We've communicated to those different communities that coming to Canada is not a free ticket. If you're not a genuine refugee, you'll be sent back. So we're doing what we can. Canadian law is being applied. The Conservatives are engaging in fear and falsifying information, but the record speaks for itself, and I will put our record against their record any day.
Last time you were talking to me here, you said that you're aware of the LMIA is being sold.
Yes.
Are you proposing any changes to the LMIAs?
The LMI process is run by our Ministry of Employment, Workforce Development and Labor. But just broadly speaking, our government is very, very attentive to issues around immigration fraud. We have very well-trained officers who can detect fraud. We have tools to combat fraud. Under Bill C-6, we now have the power. Immigration officers have the power now to confiscate fraudulent documents. We didn't have that power before. So we are very cognizant of that issue, and I know that the Ministry of Labor is also working on this issue.
Is there any other change coming in your immigration policy other than that scrapping the lottery system?
We will continue to bring very highly skilled talent to Canada. We'll continue to work with provinces like British Columbia on the provincial nominee program to address the needs of local economies, regional economies like British Columbia. One thing I'm very proud of is, our citizenship program. We have kept the wait times very low, even though we've seen an increase in the applications. So we're very proud of that. We'll continue to do that. Basically, this year is about finishing the work that we've done, consolidating the good work, making sure that we improve client service. We continue to improve client service. And lastly, fight against unscrupulous immigration consultants, because they target vulnerable people in our community and they defraud people of money and so on. There's good consultants who do good work. The ghost consultants and the unscrupulous consultants, we have an obligation to fight that fraud. And the Citizenship and Immigration Committee of Parliament issued a report with recommendations on how to tackle that problem.
Since you are a public listening to the public minister.
Absolutely.
You said you have listened and changed the system.
We always listen.
So now a lot of truckers here have to park their trucks because of a lack of drivers. They don't have enough drivers.
I've heard that.
And on the other hand, a lot of refugees are coming in. Those people are very upset about this, that, we need workers, we need drivers, and refugees are coming in. Is there anything that you're going to change, that bringing a more workforce here into the country rather than refugees?
No. First of all, let me clarify one thing. Refugees, the regular overseas refugees we bring to Canada, are a small percentage of the larger immigration program. The vast majority of the people that we bring to Canada are economic immigrants who come to fill those jobs and also to create jobs for Canadians. Number one. Number two, in terms of the professions such as truck drivers and others, that is why we increased the immigration levels. Every year we've been in office, we've increased the levels from 300,000 to 310,000 last year. This year is going to be 330,000. Next year is going to be 340,000. The year after that, 350,000. 60% of those increases are in the economic category. Highly skilled people in express entry, truck drivers, provincial nominee program increases for jobs like truck driving. I know the need. The need is great. And we hear this from employers. That's why we listened and we responded by increasing immigration. On the issue of asylum seekers, they're not taking the spots of economic immigrants. This is a whole separate system, and it's determined based on the case. But overseas resettled refugees are much smaller in numbers than the economic immigrants we bring to fill these jobs. So we've listened, and the numbers, we've seen, we will be bringing over 1 million permanent residents in the next 3 years to address, majority are in the economic category, to fill unfilled jobs and to bring skills to Canada.
Minister, anything in closing you'd like to say?
Thank you to Red FM for always making time for me to talk to you about these important issues. I just want to end by saying that it's important to listen to Canadians. It's important to answer these questions, but it's also important to fight fear with facts. The Conservatives are fear-mongering. They are making up issues. They're not using facts. A lot of the things they say are not true. Like, for example, when they say there's queue jumping, well, it's two separate systems. How could they be queue jumping? One does not affect the other. And by increasing the spaces and speeding up the process, we've actually reunited more families than ever, as you know. So we have to fight fear with facts, because the danger is if you let this fear go on and the false narrative, it risks damaging or creating a false image of immigration system, which has been very good for Canada, which has been very good for our communities. So we cannot let that happen. We don't want to be apologizing a few decades from now. We have to maintain our humanitarian tradition, and we have to fight fear with facts. It's very unfortunate that the Conservatives are attacking our immigration system that has been really good for Canada. That's what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said.
Mr. Hussen, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
#1 South Asian radio station, 89.1 and 93.1
Red FM.